Hey guys, welcome back to First and 10 over here on Clueless Gamers. I'm your host, Pete, joined and he's welcomed back by my co host, Brian. Guys, it's been a bit since Brian and I have been together. You're also noticing probably right now that I've never seen Pete in glasses before. Yes, because you never have. Had some issue with my eye yesterday, so I'm kind of giving my contacts a break. So forgive my appearance here, but we're back to cover week number 10. And we also had our first head coaching firing, so we're there to cover that as well. And of course, we'll give our week 11 picks. With all that being said, Bri, I welcome you back, man. It's been about a month. I'm glad to have you back. It's not the same doing this by yourself. How the hell are you?
Yeah, doing good, and of course it's been too long, and I apologize that I
It's all right.
haven't been the last couple weeks, and both of our schedules have been very hectic, and
Yeah.
of course we had a wedding to go to recently, so we congratulate our friends Dredger and Nicole on their
Congrats to them.
wedding. It was a very nice ceremony that we all were a part of. But glad to be back here and get to some football, and I just want to point out that since I was last on here, the team called the Jets, they've actually won
Two
two
wins.
games. Two
How
games.
about
Yeah,
that?
I really can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, incredible. Happy for you and Dylan and Delayed and all the Jet fans that are out there and are watching this. We appreciate you. And yeah, it might be the only two you get for the season, but hey, important to get on the board in the Aaron Glenn kind of era and get some positive momentum. We'll talk about a tough game that they have coming up here on Thursday night against the Patriots. But before we get to that, let's jump back, Brian, to week 10. This season, man, not only both of us, I think we could speak for, have been rough on our picks. This is probably our worst year of
Yeah.
NFL picks. I think last year you were like 68%. I think I had like 72% of correct games. I think this year we're both down in the mid 50s. So it's been
Yeah,
an
it's been rough.
atrocious year. It's been really hard making picks. And yeah, so it's not been good. This week was another week of consistent upsets. I think at least four upsets took place this week, and it's been tough sledding. So hopefully we'll get back here for the second half of the season, back on the horse here. But let's jump to Chicago, Bri. We're going to cover a couple games here before we get into picks. Of course, we're on a time crunch here because you have to go to work tonight. So let's get through this. So we head to Chicago where this game took place. It was one of our first frigid snow games. There was flurries going on. The Giants headed to Chicago. The Giants they lost this one 24-20, and a lot of things surrounding this game, including rookie sensation Jackson Dark leaving this game with a concussion. He'll probably miss next week's game, and head coach Brian Daboll for the Giants getting fired yesterday on Monday, right after this game. He looked dejected in the press conference and a little bit emotional on the sidelines towards the end of this game. But hey, Bry, before we get to the Giants side of it, got to talk about, look, this Bears team, they're 6-3. There's definitely flaws. This defense is not the old Chicago Bears defense we've remembered in the past. Caleb Williams' numbers aren't impressive. They're not over the top where you're like, damn, this guy is killing it. But you have to say one thing about him, Bry. He has been clutch. He has led fourth quarter drives. I think he's up to 4 or 5 this season, and that deserves some props. What have you thought about and your assessment of Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears as a whole so far this season?
Yeah, I definitely think this has been the year where they've taken a step forward. And I was even skeptical coming into the year. We know there were a lot of high hopes. Well, first you go back to last year, there were a lot of high hopes, and that didn't work out. Matt Eberflus was fired, and they basically needed to start over this season. I think what you're seeing is Ben Johnson has started to make his imprint
Oh
on
yeah,
this team.
yeah.
Looks like he's going to be a really good coach. I mean, the kind of ability he has as a play caller. And clearly, I think we're seeing Caleb Williams take a leap forward. And like you said, it hasn't been perfect, but if there's one thing about a quarterback, if they're going to be kind of up and down, which Caleb has been, having that clutch gene that you hear so much about and the
Mm.
ability to come back late in games, that can take your team a long way.
Oh yeah.
And so This is a very crowded division. It's kind of a difficult one to handicap. I mean, I don't know what to make of the Packers. They are a puzzling team.
Yeah.
The Lions, of course, are very solid, and you have the Vikings, who I year after year am higher on than probably as good as they may be. So they're not really all the way there this year. So the Bears are probably looking at this division and saying, "Hey, why not us?" With the way the Packers have looked the last couple of weeks, and Caleb having this ability to come back late in games. Like I said, Ben Johnson, his ability to coach. Swift has had a good year running the football. Like, there's definitely some things to like here. Now, this isn't going to be a year, I don't believe, where the Bears make a run in the playoffs, but I think this is a year where they've taken a step forward. They're, showing building blocks of potential success in the future.
Yeah, as of recording right now, the Chicago Bears, believe it or not, through 10 weeks, are on top of the NFC North. They are in first place of the Wave division and conference records right now. And then it's the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. A very crowded division, as you pointed out. And you have to give credit to Ben Johnson because you could feel the culture change, right? You watch these post-game press conferences, you watch the in locker room stuff with this, kind of good, better, best speeches that he keeps giving. And that mantra, you could tell the energy around the team has changed. Now, they have to fix significant holes. I don't know, come down the stretch, is this team going to really make the playoffs? Are they going to hold position? If I had to put money on it, probably not. But they got through a part of their schedule that was the winnable games that they should win. They've had some come from behind games here, this game, the Bengals game, but they've done what they've needed to do. And you can't teach clutch genes. You can't teach come from behind fourth quarter kind of grit. And that's the positive signs that you're seeing with Caleb Williams. Is the accuracy there as much as he needed to be? No. Is he going to be that player that's going to throw 70% completion percentage? Probably not. But he's doing the best where he's making the off-script plays. He's running the ball, kind of those scramble. I think he had over 60 yards rushing in this game. And that backyard football that sometimes could get Caleb Williams into trouble has really been an asset, particularly over the last 2 or 3 games here as well. So they deserve credit for that. There are pieces that they have to build up. DJ Moore goes out in this game. He's held without a catch. Rome, Odunze looks good. He had a couple drop balls. There's some improvements that they have to make. The defense has looked really out of sorts. Has not been that classic Chicago Bears defense that we are used to. But you can feel a culture shift here, and it's a building block in year one of Ben Johnson. And you have to say there's some positive signs going forward. Briley, quite opposite on the other sideline with the New York Giants. You feel like, I think we would have both agreed, that Jackson Dart feels like there's something there, that he could be a star,
Yes.
regardless of the injury that he went under. But, this is something we talked about, Bri, at the end of last season. It was obvious, I think, for many Giants fans, for everyone that was not inside that Giants organization. Why was GM Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll kept on? We felt like they were lame duck GM and head coaches that if the season did not go the way that management, I guess, thought they had a potential of going, that they would be fired in season. So far, Daboll has been fired. Schoen could be to come in the next coming weeks, maybe in the offseason. And that is no help to a team that has a new rookie quarterback that's going to be going into his second year next year. He's going to have a whole new offense, a whole new head coaching staff, maybe a whole new front office. It doesn't help anyone. And why were they kept on? It just made no sense. And then, of course, after this game where they have another fourth quarter lead slip away, their fourth game, I believe, of a 10-plus lead, and just giving that away. We think back to that Broncos game. They give up 33 points. They give up a 10-point lead here in the Chicago game. It's been disaster after disaster there in New York, and Brian Daboll yesterday on Monday is relieved of his duties. Brian, what did you think of the overall assessment of this game here in Chicago and watching the meltdown again? Dart leaving with injury, Russell Wilson, retire, bud. You are so washed, it's not even funny. And now Daboll being relieved of his duties.
Yeah, it's almost hard to do to have this many leads on the road of double-digit
Yeah.
scores and to blow all of them. I mean, I don't think we've seen this in in a very long time. And it's weird with the Giants because at certain times this year, you felt like they were, as we talked about the Bears taking a step forward, you felt
Yeah.
like at times the Giants were taking a step forward. And it's no bigger sign than after they beat the Eagles handily on that Thursday night, and suddenly it was like, okay, it feels like the Giants might be back here. I mean,
Yeah.
suddenly people are thinking playoff spot
Which was
even this
crazy. That was
season.
crazy.
It was definitely premature, and I think it was the next week that they had the Denver game where they had the big lead and let that get away, and it's just all fallen apart since. I mean, now they've lost four in a row, and as you mentioned, of course, the big news with the coaching change, which felt like it was time. I mean, you just couldn't keep having these meltdown games. And, as you put it, in hindsight, they probably should have made the coaching change following last season because odds were it wasn't going to be a market turnaround this year, especially when you consider how difficult their schedule was. I mean, that was something
Brutal.
that we talked about. Matt, they had just a crazy difficult schedule, and it's proven to be the case. And even with Dart, coming in and looking good at times, put himself in harm's way too many times with these too overly aggressive runs that are getting him in trouble. And now he's concussed and may miss the next game. And I agree with you, like Russell Wilson. I mean, a lot of
Come on.
people are calling for Jameis Winston to be the quarterback. I think that's But for the Giants, it just really feels like they continue to be kind of lost here. And, this cycling through of coaches, like I know we learned obviously that Daboll wasn't going to be the answer long term. But I don't think just because you make the change, you bring somebody else in, is that going to be the answer that turns things around? Like it's been a long sampling now of coaches that they've tried and nothing has seemed to work. So you have to hang your hat on the fact that you think you have your quarterback for the long term, and maybe that's what gets them turned in the right direction. But it has been a long slog for this franchise here for a long time.
Yeah, like, there's a part of me that I can't fully blame them, right? Like, you lose Cam Scatterbo after he was becoming a rookie sensation. In his second year, you lose Malik Neighbors, both out for the season. Andrew Thomas has been in and out of the lineup. The offensive line is not fantastic. They've played a little bit better. And then you got Theo Johnson and Slayton, who's very overpaid and overrated, and Wandale Robinson. It's more even the other side of the ball for me, Bri, is like this defense is very highly paid, particularly this front seven. They give up another almost 200 yards rushing in this game. They've been a couple weeks ago against San Francisco, they were giving up about 6 yards a play, especially on the ground. Where we know the weakness is in the secondary on defense, but where is the backbone of this defensive line? Really, outside of Brian Burns, who's had a great year, Thibodeau, I've never liked him. He's been a disappointment. Harrison's been a disappointment. When are we, Carter's been okay in some areas, but has not been third overall pick, I believe, or whatever he was, second overall pick. He's not been that guy that they've really needed. I think that has been more the disappointment. I don't know how defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, who is a Daboll guy, I have no idea how he still has his job today with interim head coach Mike Kafka taking over here, the team. And then the next three, Bri, they're 2-8. Their next three are Packers, who are coming off 2 losses in a row. They're going to be motivated. Lions, Patriots. I mean, they're going to get blasted before their bye week in Week 14. They are easily going to be 2-11, and then the back end of their schedule softens up a bit, but they're a bad team playing bad teams. So any way that could go, and Dart's probably going to mix this next game, running consistently QB power over and over and over with a guy that is not Cam Newton size, is absolutely reckless. You knew this injury was coming. We all knew it was going to happen, and it happens. This job's going to be attractive in the offseason, Bri, because I do think we have seen enough from Dart of his demeanor, his mantra, and just his actual play on the field, how he's kind of a dual threat. But outside of that, if they keep Shane, if this gets lopsided, I think this could get awkward. I just don't know how. I feel like this Giants franchise is far away from contending anytime soon.
and then you got the whole story with the ownership and John Mara, and
Yeah.
he's dealing with his own cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it just seems like it's one thing after another with this team right now. You got your quarterback hurt. I mean, the Scadaboo injury was a
Brutal.
huge blow. I mean, he was a guy who brought great energy, was off to a great start, and just a horrible looking injury in that second matchup with the Eagles, and he's lost for the season. They really don't have much else
No.
in the running game. I mean, Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, they're not really cutting it there. And like you mentioned, Neighbors going down, big blow. They don't have big time wide receivers outside of him, so there's just a lot stacked up against this team right now, and you add in the tough games they've got coming up. They're already 2-8. Like
They're
they're
done.
in the
They're done.
doldrums right now. We don't know how good Mike Kafka is going to be. I mean, look what happened last year when the Jets moved Jeff Ulbrich into the position of interim head coach. It was a
Yikes.
disaster. So, not saying Kafka will be similar situation, but I don't know that an in-season firing really does much to, kind of rev up the team, especially when they're as low as they are right now.
Yeah. I think my only fear is that could they get the interim head coach boost at the end of the year, especially when they're playing the Raiders and the Cowboys and the Vikings, and they win a few games and they're like, you know what? It really worked well with Dart. Let's keep Kafka. Do not do that. Do not do that. That's a bad decision. Let's start fresh. Let's get a veteran coach in here who could really take the reins of this franchise. And to me, Joe Shane's got to go. I don't understand how you keep him going forward. But yeah, Giants in a stretch. We'll see what happens with the Bears here the rest of the season. 6-3, they deserve a lot of credit for the ugly games that they have pulled out so far this season. Brian, let's head down to a different game. We'll head to two teams kind of go in the opposite direction here. The Tampa Bay Bucs and the New England Patriots. The Patriots kind of blasting the Bucs. The final score 28-23. The Bucs scored a garbage touchdown at the end. It really doesn't show how much the Patriots dominated this game. And Bry, as a Jets fan that you are, I hate to say it, the evil empire of the New England Patriots might be back. They might be back. They've won, I think, 7 in a row. They're 8-2. They are destroying teams. And Drake May looks like an MVP candidate. He looks like a young Josh Allen out there, if I do say so myself. And a team that I think going in, we didn't think had a lot of weapons. They're pulling rookies out every week. Henderson, Williams, these burners all of a sudden. And this team with Booty, who was out in this game, but in general they have him. They look like a scary team under head coach Mike Vrabel. What have you thought so far of the Patriots kind of really getting a real quality win against Tampa, who was coming off the bye? And what do you think their case is for potentially having the number 1 seed in the AFC Conference?
Yeah, I mean, I give them a shot. I don't think they'll necessarily get the number one seed. It's just been a weird year in the AFC where, like, a lot of the teams you expected to be powerhouses have not been as good. I mean, the Ravens looked dead and buried and now have kind of been revitalized
Yeah.
the last few weeks. The Bills have had their share of stinkers, none bigger than just the other day in Miami, of all places. Who saw that coming? And the Chiefs, we've documented their ups and downs. So, I mean, I don't think the Patriots. Look, I think they're a good team. I don't think this is a team that can get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think we need to worry about them being like the Brady Belichick Patriots for the next generation. But I do think they have a chance to have some sustained success here. Clearly, they found the right coach. They have a quarterback who I was high on coming into the year. Clearly, he's had a big time breakout season, and they are markedly better. I mean, this was a team that was just bereft of talent
Oh,
on
yeah.
offense year after year here, years, and now, I mean, they have really put it together. Like, they've been impressive. You mentioned Henderson, how well he's run the ball in this 7 yards on only 14 carries.
Yeah.
You're talking about 10.5 yards per pop.
It's insane.
So, yeah, I mean, they're doing it right now, especially when they're going on the road against a pretty good team and winning games soundly. Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to take the Patriots seriously. I'm not ready to make the leap and call them the best team in the AFC yet, but they're definitely dangerous.
I wouldn't call them the best team in the AFC because I think when it comes down to it, they're not going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to win this conference, but I think, Bry, they have a real shot of winning this first seed because the Colts, they've looked a little shaky in the last couple of weeks. They're basically 2.5 games above Buffalo because they're 2 wins above them in the win column, and they have the tiebreaker win against them, which was in Buffalo. So right now it looks like they are firmly in control of the division. They have the easier schedule. And then really in the conference, it's them and the Colts because the Broncos and the Chargers all have to go against each other and against the Chiefs. So you have to really think they have a firm shot here, a high percentage of that first overall seed. And hey, if games have to go through New England, it's cold up there, it's snowy, who knows what could happen. But they've been a very impressive team. It goes to show you, Bry, that when people make the argument, whether it's with quarterbacks or head coaches, it's only been one season. You can't fire them. You can't bench them. You can't give up on them. Yes, you can. Gerard Mayo, with almost the same parts here, couldn't do even remotely anything like this last season. He was a disaster. You hear all the stories that came out of just how kind of just, I don't want to say unprofessional, but just like they were not buttoned up. Yeah, he was in over his head. And you bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel, who had a long-term head coaching experience. He's had a connection in New England just like Mayo did, and just the marked difference he has made over there. And that's why you got to make moves when you can. We saw that way back in the day with Josh Rosen to Kyler Murray, and at the time it did end up working for the Arizona Cardinals. You have to make that move when you feel it. And I think this team is dangerous. And, May, he didn't play particularly well. He threw 51 completion percentage. He had a turnover. It wasn't anything crazy. I think the last couple of weeks, he's shown a little bit of sophomore warts, but the team itself has picked him up, and they really have been bludgeoning teams, and they deserve a lot of credit. On the other side, Bri, the Bucs, man, the injuries, man, where they've pulled out these games in the fire at the end of the season, all those fourth quarter comebacks, they've been really crumbling. And coming off a bye, Baker plays well in this one, but the weapons, it's been wearing on them. The defense hasn't played fantastic, and they have been slipping here now. And in an NFC South where they are lucky that the Panthers lost their game to the Saints, so they maintained firm control of the NFC South. What do you think of the Bucs right now, where Baker's played pretty well, but they definitely have been slipping, and they still have a hard upcoming schedule here for the next few games?
Yeah, I've never really trusted Todd Bowles too much as a head coach. I mean, I got an up close and personal look for too many years with the Jets, so I can never take his teams fully seriously. And this is a team that, we still believe is pretty solid. We know
Yeah.
how good Baker has been since taking over the reins there, and they've got good players on offense, but it just feels like lately it hasn't fully clicked with this team. I still believe in them. It may be more about less believing in the other teams in the division because, like, just when people are ready to anoint the Falcons as, some kind of threat after
Jesus.
they dismantled the Bills, they've just been terrible. So, I
Horrible.
mean, you can't figure them out. Carolina has been okay this year, but you don't take them seriously as a division contender,
Yeah.
and the same for the Saints. So I still think the Bucs are in pretty good position here. They got to get healthier on offense. I don't know that they're going to get the full complement of their weapons together. I mean, Mike Evans has been in and out.
Yeah.
Same for Chris Godwin. Ibuka has even missed time, but I think, if the key is going to be getting healthier on offense and just outscoring teams because I don't think this defense is going to hold teams to, low point totals week after week. They're going to win games because Baker is going to sling it around to his weapons and, they can run the football at a decent clip. But I still think when it's all said and done, we will see this team atop the division where they've been for the last, what is it, 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I mean, even going back to the Brady years, they've been winning it year in year out. Funny enough, the last time that the Patriots and the Bucs went against each other was October 2021, which was Tom Brady's return to New England in his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, huge game that was for him and for the franchise in general, for both franchises. And this time, the Patriots are the ones that come up on top. But yeah, that defense under Bowles has to improve. They got to start stopping teams here. Baker can't do it all and play hero ball, and they're in for a little bit of a rough stretch coming up. Bri, let's jump to picks here for week number 11, and it starts off the Jets heading to New England, those New England Patriots, and the Patriots on fire. You know what? The Jets 2 in a row, New England 7 in a row. Who you got in this game, Bri? I know you got to be feeling good about the Jets, but, man, this is a tough one on a short week.
Yeah, well, you feel good, but only to an extent. I mean,
Yeah,
you kind
yeah.
of have to put things in perspective here. I mean, they win a game the other day in which their quarterback throws for 50 something yards. I mean,
Horrible.
we've seen now multiple games
Yeah.
where Justin Fields has had total passing yardage numbers in the 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, it really
It's
is hard to believe. So
unsustainable.
they can thank their lucky stars in the last game that they, by some miracle, yeah, and they had, by some miracle, had two return touchdowns, a kickoff return and a punt return. That is not exactly something you can bank on
No.
each week. Garrett Wilson is banged up again. I mean, this has the recipe of blowout city. I really do not have
Yeah.
much confidence. I don't know if Aaron Glenn's going to decide to reveal to the media who his
Yeah.
quarterback is going to be, or if he's just going to play this charade all season long, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I don't think anybody knows exactly what to make of Aaron Glenn. It's been kind of a strange first year, to say the least. And as we documented, the Patriots have it all cooking right now. I mean, I don't see any way. The Thursday games favor the home team to begin with. I give the Jets credit for getting a couple of wins. The Cincinnati win, I mean, somehow they put up that point total. It says more about how bad the Bengals are on
Yeah.
defense than
Yeah.
the Jets on offense. But I think the little two-game winning streak and any good thoughts that you may have had will come to a close here pretty quickly.
Yeah, the 2 wins for the Jets, it was significant. It was needed. You had to establish some footing for the Glenn era. I have no idea why he continues to toy and fight with the media. You're not doing yourself any favors. I have no idea
Yeah.
what the purpose of that is. Don't give me, it's sort of gamesmanship of they don't know which quarterback is starting. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Glenn, both your quarterbacks absolutely stink. Whether it's Taylor or it's Fields, it literally does not matter. Your team is atrocious, and they're not going to have Garrett Wilson here. Yeah, Patriots by a million. This is going to be an absolute blowout, and I don't expect this game. I would not be shocked. You look up in this game, division or not, is a 25-point blowout. I mean, it's going to be an absolute, kind of a crap show for the Jets. The Sunday games kick off with the final international game, so the final time that we'll thankfully have to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. This game takes place for the first time ever in Madrid, Spain. It is really kind of a not great one. It's the Washington Commanders who will be probably starting Marcus Mariota, I would imagine, against the Tua-led Dolphins. Bry, if you choose to wake up for this game, who do you have in this one?
Yeah, not a great one here. I mean, look, you got to give Miami credit. The coach has been under the gun. I
Yeah.
mean, people have had Mike McDaniel fired here for the last couple weeks, and clearly his team has responded. I mean, a beatdown of the Bills in Miami last
Yeah.
week. That, says a lot that this team is still fighting for a coach, and maybe future is a little more secure than we're led to believe. Washington, it's just been a completely lost season. Look,
Yeah.
I mean, I had them as the last playoff team in on the NFC side, and I was too high on them. I mean, it really has gone south here. Jaden Daniels getting hurt, and it just has not worked for Washington after so much promise a season ago. I mean, they have really taken major steps backward. I'm gonna take a shot here with Washington. I feel like it's gonna be a field goal game, but I don't believe Miami can put two really good performances together again. I see this being kind of a low-scoring game. These international games always seem to come down to the
Always.
wire, a field goal late. I think that'll be the case here, and give me Washington something like 17-14.
Outside of the Rams Jags game where the Rams absolutely blew them out, most of these international games, I do agree, have been close. I'm taking the Dolphins this one, just frankly, not that I believe in the Dolphins or McDaniels, but like right now, you just have to take the temperature of what's going on. You know, the Commanders are starting Mariota, a backup quarterback. Already Terry McLaurin, which it's been an absolute lost season for him. What a poor signing that's turned out to be. He's already declared out for this game. You have Debo there and Zach Ertz, okay, but a lot of older players. They invested old. This defense, you know, you saw it fall apart against the Lions. They lost their head. Daron Payne has already been ruled out, obviously, because of his suspension for throwing punches. They're falling apart. Dan Quinn is going to be taking over the defensive coordinator play calls this week. They don't really know what to do. And then you put it in context that they are very injured. And on the other side, Miami, all right, they're not great, but they got their starting quarterback. They got one of the best running backs in the league in Achane. They still have Waddle out there. And even with trading Phillips to the Eagles, one of their best defensive players, they have responded. I just think in a low-scoring game, I trust them enough overseas. It's not like this is a cold-weather game where it's like, yeah, the Dolphins kind of wilt like they did a few weeks ago against Cleveland. I think they'll be able to do enough. Maybe a 13-10-ish kind of game, but I'm taking the Dolphins. The 1 o'clock games back in the States start with the Panthers or the Falcons in a game of, you know, who is worse. I mean, just I don't know what's going on with both of these teams. The Panthers have had some impressive wins dating back to when they beat a few weeks ago the Falcons 30-0. They had a huge win against the Packers a couple weeks ago. Then they throw an absolute dud against one of the dregs of the lead in the league in the Saints. I just don't know what to make of the Panthers. And then the other side, the Falcons, the same thing. As you mentioned earlier, they beat teams, you know, like the Bills. They stayed there in week 1, you know, a game really down to the end against the Bucs. And then they're getting blown out by some of these other teams. They're putting up duds back and forth. I have no idea who I'm picking in this game. Who you got, Bry?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Atlanta just because I feel like the overall talent on the roster is better here, but it's an unpredictable matchup that can go either way. I mean, the Falcons on their best day can look like a really good team, and when they're off, boy, are they off. I mean, like it just when you thought they kind of turned the corner, they play a home game against who we just talked about, Miami. And the Dolphins were as dead as a doornail, and Miami crushed them.
Destroyed
So
them.
that's just the way the NFL has been this year. This is why we talk about how our picks haven't worked out. It's
Yeah.
been a tougher year than usual to try to pick these games, and that's why. But yeah, I'm gonna take Atlanta at home. I'll take a chance with Bijan Robinson and Penix to be on his game. Drake London's had a very good season. Pitts, who knows what to make of him? I mean, he's just doesn't play consistent enough. But I'm gonna take Atlanta to pull it out here.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Atlanta as well, basically on the same logic that you. They're sputtering. They need a win. They're going to play a little bit of desperate. Raheem Morris's job, all of a sudden, in a lot of jeopardy here. And this Falcons front office, from the Kirk Cousins signing to the Michael Penix drafting, nothing is working out there in Atlanta. And this defense for Atlanta has been underrated. The defense for Carolina has been underrated. I expect this to be a very low-scoring game, but right now, Bry, it looks like Michael Penix is not the future, and it looks like Bryce Young in Carolina is not the future. So I think Dave Canales has a little bit more rope than Raheem Morris does, but I got to go at home with the better offensive talent in probably what's an ugly game. But I have no idea. These are two of the most confusing teams in the NFL, and I have no idea what to make of them, but I'm taking the Falcons in this one. The Bucs head to the Bills, Bry. A game where both teams coming off a really rough loss, both teams coming in at 6-3, two supposed juggernauts of their conference. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Buffalo coming off just that terrible performance, and that's one team that they usually destroy is
Yeah,
Miami.
yeah,
So I mean, everybody had the Bills winning that game. You look up and they're down. I think it's 16-0 in the first half,
yeah.
and they give up 30 points. expect. I have to believe the Bills are going to bounce back here. They're on their home field. Offensively, it hasn't been great for Buffalo this year. I mean, a lot of talk about how the wide receivers just are not getting open, and that they don't have a lot there. And by the way, Dalton Kincaid got banged up in the last game. He's been one of the few kind of trusted targets for Josh Allen. But I just think being back in their home building, I trust Sean McDermott. I trust Allen that when they have a poor performance that they bounce back even against a pretty good team. I think both teams will score a high number in this game, but I think you get the better version of the Bills here.
I don't trust Sean McDermott, but I do trust Josh Allen. I am taking the Bills as well. I think the Bills are a little bit desperate. They're at home. They know the Patriots are basically the equivalent, like I said earlier, of 2.5 to 3 games ahead of them. They cannot afford another loss, especially at home. And coming off that Dolphins game where I think it was something like the last 1,000+ days they've beaten the Dolphins. I mean, they sweep them every single year, including in the playoffs. To lose to them in such a fashion, they were embarrassed. Teams that are typically embarrassed have to come back and win a game, and I expect them to, in a high-scoring one, with the Bucs reeling, with Bucky Irving already called out in this game. I have no idea. He's been such a weird injury. He's been out since like week 4, week 5. Why has he not been put on IR? Is he good? Like, what is going on there? He's a major weapon for that offense, and I think the Bucs are just reeling right now. They're in a division that's not great, and they'll be able to stay afloat even at 6-4. I'm taking the Bills to win this one. The Chargers head to the Jags in a game where, oh my God. I mean, are the Jags okay? Travis Hunter today being put on the IR. He ended up having knee surgery. He's out for the season. And the Jags were up 29-10, Bri, in the fourth quarter and somehow gave up 26 points, including the touchdown fumble recovery to walk it off against Davis Mills and the Texans. I mean, just an atrocious loss from Jacksonville. They've been another very confusing team this year. And then on the other side, even with Joe Alt out for the year, the Chargers backs against it. They've played really well. Who you got in this one in a game where the Jags all of a sudden, they're fighting for their playoff life?
Yeah, well, I just love how you preface this with, "Are the Jags okay?" I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. But yeah, another kind of interesting one here. I mean, I think we're seeing a big theme throughout the league where it's hard to figure out this league. I think anybody
It makes
that's
no
talking
sense.
NFL football is really in the same boat here. And the Chargers, like we pointed out, all the good things about them. And I still just have this thing where I don't fully trust this team. Like
Yeah,
there's still just something that's not all the way right. Like even especially watching Herbert, like I still feel like there's another level for him to get that he hasn't quite gotten to.
I agree with that.
That said, in this game, all the issues that the Jags have, I think they're demoralized after that game the other day. How can you not be to blow that big of a lead against a team starting a backup quarterback? Again, it's just hard to believe. I think they'll manage to keep it close, but in the end, I think the Chargers are the more solid team, top to bottom, and will win this one.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. I mean, for the Jags, you were going to be 6-3. You win that game. You still have a chance at catching the Colts. Now you're all but over with Hunter gone. You spent, I think, a 4th-round pick on bringing over Jacoby Myers. The team has just not had that it factor. They've been so up and down. And the Chargers, even though I agree, I don't fully trust them. There feels like there's something missing. They've had a ton of injuries. But you know what? You got to trust in Harbaugh. He gets these guys, whoever's out there, to play every single week. And against the upper echelon teams, yeah, I don't know the Chiefs, the Bills, maybe the Ravens when they're healthy, if they're going to be able to beat those teams. We saw them get annihilated by the Colts a few weeks ago. But the Jags, they're hurting right now. I'm taking the Chargers. The Bears head to the Vikings, Bri, in a... You want to talk about confusing things? Let's talk about the NFC North, where the Vikings a couple weeks ago just beat the Lions. Like, the league, this division. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm starting to think with all the allegations going on across sports, are we not fixing some of these games? I mean, some of these games have made literally no sense. I mean, they've made no sense, especially the fourth quarter blown leads of double digits, 20-plus points. The Bears kind of feel like they're a little bit of a phony 6-3, but you have to remember They lost a real embarrassing game week 1 to J.J. McCarthy and these Vikings. I have to think they remember that. They're going to avenge that. I can't trust what the Vikings are right now. I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, well, I never fully put my trust in the Bears, and I just feel like this is a spot. The Vikings are at home. They need this one more to kind of stay alive in a very crowded division playoff picture in the NFC. I want to see them, get this offense really going here. They haven't really been able to fully unleash it. Justin Jefferson's been kind of held down here the last few weeks. I see this as a game against a struggling Bears defense where McCarthy can make some plays. Vikings toughen their building, had the big divisional win in Detroit. I think they get another one here in a good matchup.
You can't quit these Vikings, man. You can't quit them. And I got to ask you, Brad, before we move on, do you think privately Kevin O'Connell in that front office, do you think they regret that they let Sam Darnold, given what he's doing again this season? Do you think they regret letting him walk out the door? Because McCarthy's been one of the worst quarterbacks when he has been healthy, and he's also been banged up yet again this season.
Yeah, I don't know how you cannot regret it. I mean,
Yeah.
seeing how Darnold, if anything, has been even better this year in Seattle and was so good last year for the Vikings. And I know it didn't end well, and he
Yeah.
didn't play well in the playoff game, but he had that offense humming, and you got a quarterback guy that's the head coach that gets the most out of quarterbacks. Like that just seemed like a relationship that could have blossomed into something long term. Clearly, it looks like absolutely the wrong call right now. I think they are certainly wishing they had a do over at that decision.
Yeah, I think depending on how this season, Bry, goes, going back to my earlier point on the podcast, I would not be surprised they make a QB move this offseason. And this is like kind of a one and done because he missed his rookie year, J.J. McCarthy. He's looked that bad. The vibe, Justin Jefferson, he fell down on that one pick. Looked like he quit on a couple other routes, and I'm not trying to call a guy out. It's just he's been through a long frustration of multiple quarterbacks. He's earned his stripes, and I think that there's something might be done there in Minnesota if they want to keep him and Kevin O'Connell happy and kind of under contract there as well. The Packers head to the Giants, another NFC North team. And, yeah, I mean, I'm not spending a lot of time on this. We talked about it earlier. I'm taking the Packers. They've lost 2 in a row. They've been embarrassed. They have to get this offense going no matter how injured it is. And they're playing a team starting an interim head coach that just fired their coach of 3.5+ years. I think the Giants are dead on arrival. Probably have no dart. Probably starting Wilson, even though they should easily start Jameis Winston. I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I think there probably would be a little more hope for the Giants if they actually did make the move
Absolutely.
to Jameis Winston. Probably inject some life. I mean, that is something that Russell Wilson at this stage of his career is just not bringing to the table. When he's in it, it just kind of feels like the team is lifeless.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now you're playing the Packers, and they're feeling a little more desperate. They've had 2 straight clunkers in a row on their home field. I mean, if there's a game to get going, it's got to be this one. It's now or never time for Jordan Love and this offense. I do think the loss of Tucker Kraft is a pivotal
It's
one
been a killer.
for that offense. I mean, he was just so good as a weapon. Not to have him, we talked about how their receivers are not, go-to kind of players. Kraft had kind of become that guy at tight end.
Yeah.
Not having him is a major loss, but I think the Packers do get back on track here. I'm taking that.
Yeah, and last night, no Golden. Dobbs left the game. Obviously, no Tucker Kraft. They've been banged up left and right. And when you have a lot of, for the most part, B guys, this is what tends to happen. And that running game hasn't been the same. The offensive line has taken a ton of injuries. They have to win this game. The Bengals head to the Steelers, and the Bengals, I guess, sort of weird news, right? They've played great offensively under Joe Flacco. The defense has been as bad as we figured they had been. Joe Burrow has entered the practice window. He could return within 3 weeks. He gave a press conference earlier today. Very nice to see one of the elite quarterbacks in this league potentially coming back this year. But, Bri, I don't think he's going to come back if this team loses the next 3 and they're 3-9 and the season is over. There'd be no point to bring him back. This is an extremely important game for the Bengals, who just beat the Steelers a few weeks ago in a great Thursday night matchup. And the Steelers, another team that's weird, right? Like they really dominate the
Yeah.
Colts, and then they leave a dud against the very injured Chargers. Who you have in this one, Bry?
It's like in the press conference after the Steelers' last loss against the Chargers, they asked him how he would evaluate Aaron Rodgers' play, and he just looked at the reporter and was like, "How would you?"
Yeah.
So I think that about said it all. I mean, it's been very up and down. Rodgers, it's been very up and down for this defense, where on their best day, they look like the steel curtain.
Right.
On their worst day, they allow teams like the Jets to score 30 plus. So it's really been very baffling. They seem to be kind of this week after week team where it's like one good game, one bad game. I think they're due to bounce back here. They're at home. I think whatever you can get out of Rodgers, you'll get. And why not against a team? The Cincinnati defense is just horrendous. I mean, we talked about how bad the Cowboys defense is. Cincinnati's is worse. I mean, they are historically bad. They allowed the Jets to score 39. Not only that, the Jets that had no weapons. They didn't even have Garrett Wilson. They
Zero.
didn't have some other guys, and they still scored 39 points. So that told you how bad that defensive unit is. I think this is a game where Rodgers will be able to make some plays with DK Metcalf, and Pittsburgh pulls it out.
Yeah, I think two teams that even record-wise, I don't view that much differently in the Steelers and the Bengals. I view the Steelers a little more favorably. I have to take the Steelers. You have to trust the Hall of Fame quarterback to have a bounce-back game. There's just more pieces on that defense. The Bengals already got them once. Yeah, maybe the Bengals have a little bit of a renewed energy, a little bit of pep in their step with Joe Burrow back in the building. But the offense, as we've talked about, has not been the problem. And I don't think this defense is going to be able to do enough to stop Rodgers in kind of a bounce-back game. I don't think it's going to be a barn burner that it was in that Thursday night game, but I'm looking more in that 24-20 kind of range. I believe the Steelers and all of those guys, and TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and DK Metcalf, I believe they're going to be able to bounce back under Mike Tomlin at home. I think they'll get a win here against the Bengals. The final 1 o'clock game, Bri, is the Texans at the Titans. The Texans, all of a sudden, Bri, look out. There's a little bit of buzz here. Even with C.J. Stroud, we don't know if he's going to start this week. He's got to clear the concussion protocol. And the Titans have been dead on arrival, but the Texans' defense has been the stalwart, excellent defense it has been all season long. Even when they kind of gave up some points here against the Jags, they stood firm when they needed to. And this Titans team, Bri, that has had the first head coaching firing of the year, they have no idea what's happening. They're coming off the bye. I don't expect them to play really well. I think the Texans, whether it's Stroud or Davis Mills, they'll be able to pull this one out. I'm taking Houston.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, from what I've seen from Cam Ward in his rookie season, might be too early to say this, but it looks like he could be a bust. Like, it has not been good. His numbers have been
It's been rough.
very inaccurate as a quarterback this year. I know the team hasn't been good and they got a lot of issues, but I don't know that Cam Ward is going to be the savior for the Tennessee Titans. It's been a very difficult first year for him. Yeah, I'm with you here. The Texans definitely have some mojo now. Clearly, a defense that's playing really well. We'll find a way to win this one.
Yeah, I see some moments there with Cam Ward. It's just the structure, the ownership. It just doesn't feel great. You have that story that came out that the Patriots might have inquired about trying to trade for some players from the Titans, and ownership was so turned off about how their kind of relationship dissolved that they refused to trade with the Patriots. If that's true, not great. And it just feels like the Titans are one of the worst teams in the league, and they're going to be for the next 5 years. You got to trust Houston to kind of rebound and try to save their season once again. The 4:05 games kick off with the Niners at the Cardinals, and Bry, it's just every week the Niners just have more and more injuries. The Cardinals have played better with Brissett, but they clearly have a ceiling. I don't know who you're going with here. Is Mac Jones going to start the rest of the year? Maybe. Kyle Shanahan has hinted maybe Purdy could practice, but I'm not feeling great that he's going to be. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, I have a little more confidence in the 49ers. I know it hasn't been pretty, and mainly just because of how many players they've lost. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just remarkable the amount
Insane.
of injuries this team has. Both sides of the ball, they've just been decimated. The Cardinals, like you said, they've been better with Brissett, but last week was kind of a setback. I mean, they were getting pounded in that game in Seattle. Made it look a little better as Seahawks started turning the ball over. In the end, it was a 20-plus point win for Seattle. I'm going to trust in Mac Jones, who more often than not has delivered a pretty good
Yeah.
performance, and McCaffrey just kind of continues to carry this offense. I think that'll be the recipe again for a Niners win.
Yeah, I trust Kyle Shanahan. I trust Christian McCaffrey. And I think it'll be a close game. It's a divisional game. I like Gannon, and I think he has had these guys play competitive with suboptimal kind of parts. But overall, I just think the Niners are coming off a rough loss against the Rams. They're going to bounce back in this one. The 405, and maybe the game of the week is the 7-2 Seahawks heading to the 7-2 Rams. An offensive explosion I expect to see in this one. Who you got, Bri?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a terrific game. You have to be feeling better about your team. I mean, I think it may have been the last show that we did together. You were on one of your kind of long rampages,
Yeah.
burying this team as not being Super Bowl caliber. And really, since then, they've been awfully good. I mean, they have been winning consistently. Seems like they're really firing on all cylinders. That said, right now, if I had to say the team that I think is playing the best of anyone, I think it's Seattle. I
Yeah.
think top to bottom, they are playing the best of anyone. And you know, your team has had trouble with the Seahawks at different times. I know the Rams are favored here, but I'm going to take a shot with Seattle and how well Darnold is playing. Jackson Smith and Jigba, the leading receiver in the league right now,
Yep.
playing well on defense too. They turned over the Cardinals left and right last week. I think it's going to be a terrific game. In the end, I'm taking Seattle to come out on top.
Yeah, the Rams have did pretty well over the last few years, really handling the Seahawks. That's kind of been their back and forth, but they've really handled them. But that was also the Geno Smith Seahawks, and right now this Darnold one, even though I know he had 3 turnovers last week, that is something to pay attention to. But I just think right now it comes down to the Seattle defense, especially the Seattle secondary. It's just way better than the Rams secondary. It just is, and I think that is where the game's going to lie. I think the Rams defense has been a tad bit overrated. If they're going to win this game, this pass rush that is constantly talked about has to show up. They have to harass Darnold in the way they did when he played for Minnesota last season. The Seahawks have played well on the road, and I think this is going to be a good game, kind of a barn burner 31-28 kind of game. But I'm taking the Seahawks as well. I just think the way that they are firing, I just think they are just a bit better right now. The 425 games kick off with the Ravens at the Browns. Hey, Bri, it's a divisional game. That Browns defense still is really good, but the Ravens right now, every single game is their Super Bowl this week because of the hole that they have put themselves in. I don't think offensively they played particularly well against the Vikings last week, and they played well against this Browns team earlier this year. I expect them to bounce back offensively, to keep it going and sweep this team this season. I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, I think the difference with the Ravens from last year, they were just bludgeoning teams with the running game last year, gashing people with Derrick Henry. This year, he's been kind of held more in
Yeah,
check,
for
and
sure.
so their offense has not been as special. Add in that, Lamar missed time and, isn't be at 100% right now. So, yeah, they haven't looked quite the same last year as last year, but now they're riding higher here with a 3-game winning streak. I don't think the Browns are going to be able to keep up with them in this game. I mean, divisional games unpredictable, could be closer than usual. I don't know that Baltimore will blow them out, but in the end, I think Lamar and company will put together a good enough performance for a win.
The other 425 game is a huge game. Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs 5-4 coming off the bye. The Broncos kind of a little bit of a phony 8-2. They've had some magic happen in a lot of these wins. The Chiefs, look, they need it, man. Not only for the division, but for the conference, for the playoffs. Right now, if the season ended, they're outside of the playoffs right now. They need this win. Bo Nix has not played well in the last month. He's had some rough moments this season outside, especially the fourth quarter. I know this defense is excellent, but I am trusting the Chiefs. I am trusting off the bye and Andy Reid. I'm taking them all the way. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call because of
Yeah.
how good the Broncos' record is, and maybe relative to the way they played, kind of surprising just how good they have been. But yeah, I think that's the big key. Andy Reid in his whole coaching career has been a master coming off the bye. So I think this is a good competitive kind of game. You know, it's always tough going into that environment with that defense, but I would feel better about the chances of a Broncos win if Bo Nix was clicking, but he's
Yeah.
just been wildly inaccurate this year. That offense has not been producing. The Chiefs, we know, have kind of found something with their offense the last few weeks, so I do think here on the road in a tough spot they will get the victory.
Let's put it this way: the Chiefs lose, the division's over. The division's over. If they're 5-5 and the Broncos are 9-2, they're not catching them. It's over, and then they are really facing an uphill battle to even make a wild card. This is an extremely important game. They have to win. The Sunday night game, Bry, is the Lions head into Philadelphia, and what I should say should be an excellent one, but I thought that about last night's game in Monday night of Green Bay and Philly, and it was one of the most boring games, defensive struggles you'll watch. I know it was a windy, cold night last week. Could be something similar in Philadelphia. Who you got in a matchup here of 6-3 versus 7-2?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call, but I'm gonna trust Detroit a little bit more here, mainly because the Eagles, as good as they are at times, and at times you watch them and they look like a good candidate to repeat as Super Bowl champions, but this offense has had too many games where it's just disappeared. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk about puzzling. The fact that AJ Brown has had games where he's just a total non-factor. These games where Jalen Hurts throws for like 100 yards, just far too many occasions like
Yeah.
that. So right now, I'm almost trusting Philly's defense more. Their defense has come to play week in and week out this year, but the offense has disappeared far too many times for me to really believe in them. And you're going against the Detroit team. They're going to bring it every week with that offense that they have and that running game. I'm on Ross St. Brown, the way he's clicking. Sam Laporta has become a good weapon there at tight end. So I'm taking Detroit. I think it's going to be a good game, but the Eagles have just had too many of these games where their offense has disappeared. I'm favoring Detroit.
Yeah, there's just something about these teams that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense this season, right? We figured Detroit should be better than they are. They had that weird game, like I said, a couple weeks against the Vikings. And then the Eagles just offensively all year, it has been a struggle, but they have just been figuring out these games and winning them. I just can't quite understand it. You feel like the Lions, they have the better weapons. They should come in here. They are the physical team. They should handle Philly. And I think Philly has been kind of on some borrowed time lately. I'm taking the Lions in this one as well. I just think something has to happen, something has to give to really put a shock to their system. They can't score 10 points. It can't happen. Detroit's defense has been better than we've thought in the past few years. And just with all these weapons, I don't know if Philly can keep up on a cold night. You would think a dome team wouldn't be as good, but this Lions team is physical as hell. I think it'll be a close one. I think it'll be a low-scoring one, but I'm taking Detroit at this moment as well. And the final game, Bri, is the Monday night game, which honestly should be flexed out for one of these other games. It's the Cowboys at the Raiders. I mean, just Lord Almighty. I mean, Geno, he's dealing with a thigh contusion. We expect him to play, but who knows if he doesn't. I'm taking the Cowboys. I expect them to bounce back. They have more weapons. They've gone through a couple rough losses. Their last game against Arizona, which was embarrassing. And the Raiders have no idea who they are right now. They traded away Myers. But two really bad teams. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Dallas. I mean, at times this year the Cowboys have looked decent. You know, that their
Yeah.
offense was humming there for a while. We were talking about Dak Prescott as an MVP candidate. I thought that was a little premature, as it seems
Yeah.
like every time you put Dak Prescott in the MVP conversation, he always kind of regresses where it's like he's never quite that good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Raiders, like even if Geno Smith plays, he's been very this year. I mean, he's up among the league leaders in interceptions. They don't have a lot of weapons. Ashton Genty at least has shown some signs of life after a very slow
He's had some
start to his
moments.
season, but had some moments. But I'm going to take the Cowboys mainly just with their offense to score some points here. You don't have any faith in what they can do on the defensive side, but
No.
I just think they're better top to bottom here. We'll get the road.
And the teams, of course, on the bye this week, the Colts and the Saints, kind of a light bye week for week number 11. But, guys, that wraps up here, 1st and 10, week number 10, week number 11 picks. So excited to have Brian back that we're able to do this and knock this one out. I just need a good picks week. I need to get some picks right because my confidence has been really low this season. Brian, before we get out of here, I know you got to get to work. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I know you and I both are hoping for better results with the picks. It's been a slog there, but yeah, just quickly because I know we were away there for a couple weeks, and one of kind of the big things that broke on a very sad note that I wanted to mention. I don't know if you had brought it up while you were solo, but the passing of Nick Mangold was one that
Yeah.
really hit hard. I think for any Jet fan, especially, but I really think for any football fan, like he's just one guy that you knew if you were a football fan because he was a stalwart of a franchise for so long, and just so sad to lose at such a young age. And the story is even more difficult when you hear just a couple weeks before his passing, he'd come out on social media and was asking about a kidney transplant, and then shockingly, it just came to an
Yeah.
end just a couple weeks later. So that was very, very difficult blow, and nice to see though that the Jets did respond. It was that day that they had the feel-good win in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, kind of in his honor. We know they honored him before the last game, but a very tough blow for the Jets and the NFL community to lose Nick Mangold.
Yeah, I think we both missed that week. I think that was after week number 8. But yeah, 41. Really looking for a donor to see that, to see what Willie Colon and Bart Scott, when I watched them on SNY talk about him and how emotional that was, how close they were to him, especially Bart, and what a great man, a fun guy. They called Fat Thor a fun player, an excellent player. I believe a 7-time Pro Bowler. He was kind of
Mhm.
one of the main pieces to the Jets being last in the playoffs in that 2009-2010 back-to-back AFC Championship run. He was an incredible player that I grew up watching, especially being friends with a ton of Jets fans as well. And yeah, my heart's off to him and his family. Last week I talked about the passing, the unfortunate situation with Nealon from the Cowboys. That was a rough situation as
Yeah,
well, a very
yeah.
sad situation. So it's just been a rough season with that. And then, of course, the former NFL commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, passing away this past week at 84 as well. So it's been that kind of season. We've had some rough losses. But, yeah, you hate to see especially people go so young. And, yeah, I appreciate you mentioning Mangold as well. It's important we talked about that real quick.
Yeah, and the Mark Sanchez situation, he's been removed now from his broadcasting role. We
Not a
talked about
surprise.
that when the news broke a few years ago. So yeah, a lot of and those kind of unfortunate stories that have broken throughout the season. But in between, a lot of good football to talk about. So that's the good thing.
Yeah, of course. We mostly talk football here, but we talk a little bit of real life as well, and it's just important to recognize. Look, life is precious. Enjoy all the time that you have on this good earth, and try to make smart choices, and hope luck goes your way. But yeah, even on that somber note, guys, that's kind of our 1st and 10 here. Of course, as I said, week number 10, week number 11 picks. Let us know down below. We love reading your comments, and I respond to those a couple times. But even if I don't, I'm always upvoting them. I'm always reading them. So we do, both of us, appreciate the kind of the interaction, the feedback there. And as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends if you be so kind. And until next week of 1st and 10, but hopefully we'll both be back once again. Thank you for watching.